Hello everyone, myself Tulsi Patel. I am working as nursing tutor at Knowledge Institute of Nursing. So today we will study about abdominal assessment. So in abdominal assessment, be sure that the client has emptied the bladder for comfort and place the client in supine position with the knees slightly flexed to relax abdominal muscles. So you have to ask the patient to empty the bladder so that for your convenience you can assess the patient's abdomen, means inspect, palpate or percuss the area properly. So first of all, the first method is inspection of the abdomen. So inspect for skin integrity, means pigmentation, lesions or stria gravidum or scars or veins and the umbilicus area, any discharge is present or inflamed umbilicus, anything you can see. And the next is counter, means it is flat, rounded or scapuled. The patient who are having ascites will have enlarged abdomen. The next is distension, you have to observe it for that, and then respiratory movement and visible peristalsis, and the last one is pulsation. So you will study about many disorders like abdominal aortic aneurysm, and in that condition you can see the visible pulsation in that. So that all you have to observe first. So the normal finding are skin color is uniform and there is no lesion present. So here you can see we have divided the abdomen in four quadrant: right upper quadrant, left upper quadrant, right lower quadrant and left lower quadrant. Here is the region is suprapubic and here is epigastric. So some client may have stria or scar and there is no venous engorgement. The patient who are suffering with liver disorder will have venous engorgement too. Counter may be flat, rounded or scapuled. Then thin client may have visible peristalsis and aortic pulsation may be visible on thin client. So the next method you are going to assess is auscultation of the abdomen. So this method proceeds percussion because bowel motility and thus bowel sound may be increased by palpation or percussion. So you are going to first do auscultation, then you will proceed for percussion and palpation. So the stethoscope and the hand should be warmed before you are applying it. If they are cold, they may initiate contraction of the abdominal muscles, and light pressure on the stethoscope is sufficient to detect the bowel sound and bruits, and intestinal sounds are relatively high pitched. The bell may be used in exploring arterial murmurs and venous hum, that is called peristaltic sounds. So these sounds are produced by the movement of air and fluid through the GI tract, and peristalsis can provide diagnostic clue relevant to the motility of the bowel. Means if the patient is suffering with diarrhea or constipation, according to that, you may hear the sounds. So listening to the bowel sound, which is called barbogymy, can be facilitated by following this step. Divide the abdomen in four quadrants. Listen over all auscultation site and starting at the right lower quadrant, following the cross pattern of the imaginary line in the creating the abdominal quadrants. This direction ensures that we follow the direction of bowel movement, and peristaltic sound are quite irregular. Thus, it is recommended that the examiner listen for at least 5 minutes, and especially at the periumbilical area, before concluding that no bowel sounds are present. So the normal bowel sounds are high pitch and gurgling noises that occurring approximately every 5 to 15 seconds. It is suggested that the number of bowel sound may be as low as 3 as high as 20 per minute, or roughly one bowel sound for each breath sound. So you have to keep in mind this thing. And some factor affect the bowel sound are presence of food in the GI tract, means just after taking food, or state of digestion, pathological condition of bowel like inflammation, gangrene, paralytic ileus, and peritonitis. Then next is any bowel surgery patient have gone through, and constipation or diarrhea, as I said, and electrolyte imbalances. And the last one is bowel obstruction. The next method is percussion of the abdomen. So abdominal percussion is aimed at detecting fluid in the peritoneum like ascites and gaseous distension and masses, and in assessing solid structure within the abdomen. So the direction of abdominal percussion follows the auscultation site at each abdominal quadrant. So the entire abdomen should be percussed lightly, or general picture of the areas of tympani and dullness. So tympani will predominate because of the presence of gas in the small and large bowel. Solid masses will percuss as dull, such as liver in the right upper quadrant, spleen at the sixth or ninth rib, just posterior to or at mid axillary line on the left side. So whenever you are going to assess, you have to know in which quadrant which organs are placed. Percussion in the abdomen can also be used in assessing the liver span or size of spleen. Like many conditions like liver, hepatomegaly or splenomegaly, you can assess by percussion and palpation method that the patient is suffering with splenomegaly or hepatomegaly. So percussion of the liver, the palms of the left hand is placed over the region of liver dullness. The area is struck lightly with the fisted right hand, and normally tenderness should not be elicited by this method. Tenderness elicited by this method is usually a result of hepatitis or cholecystitis. Means this patient is having tenderness, the patient may suffer with hepatitis or cholecystitis. The next is renal percussion, can be done by either indirect or direct method. Percussion is done over the costovertebral junction as shown in the figure, and tenderness elicited by such method suggests renal inflammation. So detection of ascites and its differentiation from ovarian cyst and intestinal obstruction. So how you can differentiate the ascites from ovarian cyst and intestinal obstruction? You have to differentiate the thing. So shifting dullness examination sequence with the patient supine percus from the midline out to the flank region. Like note any change from resonant to dull along with the areas of dullness and resonance. Keep your finger on the site of dullness in the flank and ask the patient to turn onto his opposite side. Pause for at least 10 seconds to allow and any ascites to gravitate, then focus again. If the area of dullness is now resonant, shifting dullness is present, indicating ascites. So you will see in the figure, like percussion of ascites, you have to do like this. This one is the figure and this. You have to measure the pleximeter. Focus towards the flank from the resonant to dull. So the person is focusing the flank region. The next is fluid thrill. So place the palm of your left hand flat against the left side of the abdomen and flick a finger of your right hand against the right side of the abdomen, just show in the figure. And if you feel a ripple against your left hand, ask an assistant to place the edge of their hand on the midline of the abdomen as shown in the figure. The person has put their uh, hand in the midline. This prevents transmission of the impulse via the skin rather than through the ascites. If you still feel a ripple against your left hand, a fluid thrill is present, only detected in gross ascites. So clinical features of marked abdominal swelling are gross ascites, dull in flanks, umbilicus, everted and or hernia present, shifting dullness, positive fluid thrill, positive. So the next is large ovarian cyst, resonant in flank umbilicus, vertical and drawn up large swelling set arising out of pelvis, which one cannot get below. The next is intestinal obstruction, resonant throughout, cloaky pain and vomiting, recent cessation of passage of stool and flatus increase and noisy bowel sound. So, the next one is palpation of the abdomen. So first we will see the light palpation. It is a gentle exploration performed while the client is in supine position with the examiner's hands parallel to the floor. The fingers depress the abdominal wall at each quadrant by approximately 1 centimeter without digging but gently palpating with the slow circular motion. This method is used for eliciting slight tenderness, large masses and muscles girding. Tensing of abdominal musculature may occur because of the examiner's hand are too cold or are pressed too vigorously or deep into the abdomen. So you have to warm your hand before you are doing any like palpation thing. And the client is ticklish or guards involuntary. Presence of subject pathological condition. The normal finding are there is no tenderness noted with the smooth and consistent tension and no muscles girding. The next is deep palpation. It is indentation of the abdomen performed by the pressing the distal half of the palmar surface of the finger into the abdominal wall. So the abdominal wall may slide back and forth while the fingers move back and forth over the organ being examined. So, as shown in figure, the person is doing deep palpation. Deeper the structure like the liver or retroperitoneal organ like the kidneys and masses may be fed with this method. And in this absence of disease, pressure produced by deep palpation may produce tenderness over the cecum, the sigmoid colon, and the aorta. So the next and most important thing is liver palpation. There are two types of bimanual palpation recommended for palpation of the liver. The first one is supreme supreme position of the right hand over the left hand. So ask the patient to take three normal breaths, then ask the client to breathe deeply and hold. This would push the liver down to facilitate palpation. Press hand deeply over the right upper quadrant because the liver is located in right upper quadrant. So this is how you are going to do the bimanual palpation. So, and the second method are the examiner's left hand is placed beneath the client at the level of right 11th or 12th rib. Place the examiner's right hand parallel to the costal margin of the right upper quadrant, and upward pressure is placed beneath the client to push the lever toward the examining right hand while the right hand is pressing into the abdominal wall. Ask the client to breathe deeply. As the client inspire and lever may be felt to slip beneath the examining fingers, which is called lever span. So as shown in figure, percus downward from the chest in the right midclavicular line until you detect the top edge of the lever dullness. Percus upward from the abdomen in the same line until you detect the bottom edge of the lever dullness. And measure the lever span between these 2 points. This measurement should be 6 to 12 centimeter in normal adult. If it is more than that, the person is suffering with hepatomegaly. The next is splenic dullness. Percus the lowest costal interspace in the left anterior axillary line. This area is normally tympanic, and as the patient to take a deep breath and percus this area again, dullness in this area is a sign of splenic enlargement. Means the patient is suffering with splenomegaly. The last one is hook method. This method is useful when the patient is obese or when the examiner is small compared to the patient. You have to stand by the patient chest and hook your fingers just below the costal margin and press firmly. Ask the patient to take a deep breath. You may feel the edge of the lever press against your finger. So the normal finding are the liver is usually cannot be palpated in normal adult. However, in extremely thin but otherwise well individual, it may be felt as the costal margin. When the normal liver margin is palpated, it must be smooth, regular, and in counter, firm, and non-tender. So this was about the assessment of the abdomen. Thank you for listening.